I call the member for Fremantle.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I'm glad to have an opportunity to speak about the failure to protect workers and the social and economic consequences of that failure. I'm not glad to speak about the circumstances that prevail currently in Western Australia, because the reality is Western Australia is in a recession. We have the second highest unemployment in the country. We have a sequence of falling full-time employment that is unmatched since the beginning of the 1990s, the deep recession in the 1990s. Underemployment is at its highest level since the ABS began keeping those statistics in 1978. As the member for Perth said, there are 100,000 people out of work in my home state. And what's most disappointing is it was foreseeable. Western Australia does have a resources economy. That resources economy has dips and troughs, and a responsible government prepares for those. Yet nothing has been done. The Barnett government has perpetrated a long con on the people of Western Australia, quietly building up a mountain of debt and passively watching as jobs began to disappear. And it's entirely appropriate that the Federal House of Representative members from Western Australia speak on this topic, because the Barnett government has been aided and abetted by the Turnbull government. The Barnett government should have been prepared for change. They should have ensured there was a greater emphasis on local content participation when the resources economy was running strongly. And as the economy cooled, there should have been a focus on productive infrastructure investment. There's been a complete inadequacy in that when it comes to that investment. And WA has been badly let down by the Abbott-Turnbull government in all of those departments. During the last election, there were 78 road and rail projects announced or promised by the coalition. How many in WA? 3. 3 out of 78. Of $860 million worth of road and rail projects, barely $40 million, or 4.6%, was delivered in Western Australia. Now, that was in July last year. Last week, the federal government announced projects being funded under the Regional Jobs and Investment Package. $220 million, 10 projects. The goal of the program is, and I quote, to help regions in Australia diversify their economies, stimulate long-term economic growth and deliver sustainable employment. How many projects of the 10 in Western Australia? None. 0. Even though some of the relevant Western Australian regions have unemployment rates 3 times higher than those selected for funding. It's a bitter irony, bitter irony, as my colleagues have pointed out, that the only sniff of infrastructure funding we have is in relation to the Perth Freight Link, a road without a plan, a road that doesn't reach the port, the most expensive road in WA's history.
Have you ever driven down Stirling Highway?
Deputy Speaker, the first toll road in WA, a toll road that will be commercially operated, a road that will not create jobs in the medium to long term, a road that locks us into ever-increasing truck freight and congestion, a road that cuts communities in half, and a project that begins by doing unacceptable harm to the Belial wetlands. The fact that 100 hectares of fragile bushland is being smashed down in the shadow of an election that could make the entire project redundant is a scandal. It is a scandal. And the federal coalition has led the Barnett government by the nose on this project. The Minister for Infrastructure, who's been interrupting me all the way, and the Finance Minister have taken now to threatening to withhold from a future Western Australian Labor government, if elected, infrastructure funds. They are essentially saying that Western Australia will receive less than nothing. That's what you're saying, Minister. Western Australia will receive less than nothing. So I hope, Minister, I hope that you and your Western Australian colleagues campaign on that. I hope you campaign on that three-word slogan for Western Australia from you and your government: less than nothing. Come to Western Australia and campaign on that. But the people of Western Australia are waking up to Mr Barnett. They know what he's delivered. $40 billion in debt, the highest per capita state debt, the second highest unemployment, the highest inequality, the largest gender pay gap. That's what Mr Barnett has delivered. That's some achievement. Complacency and mismanagement on a grand scale, aided and abetted by the Abbott-Turnbull government. Well, the people of Western Australia are waking up to Mr Barnett. They're going to get the opportunity shortly to hold that government to account. You have to take responsibility for your actions, and Mr Barnett will get his chance to take responsibility very shortly. The people of Western Australia are going to have an opportunity to choose a Premier with a plan for jobs a plan for productive infrastructure and transport and a commitment to energetic and long-term leadership, a McGowan WA Labor government.
I thank the honourable member for Fremantle.